honeybee is the most important pollinator on the planet. So therefore, its impact on human survival is so great that we have to look after our honeybees. And if we look at our food security and food supply, 1 in 3 mouthfuls that we eat is attributed to honeybees, and 65% of agriculture is dependent on honeybees one way or another. It's a not negotiable space.
As a third-generation beekeeper, Ian Kane knows bees are the secret workers behind our billion-dollar food industry and reducing our carbon footprint. But a big-name bloodsucker is looming on the horizon.
Right now, a tiny parasite is threatening to wipe out our bees.
Feared Varroa Destructor could decimate local bee populations.
Blood-sucking parasite that brings with it disease and viruses.
Is the last inhabited continent without Varroa mite, which has already destroyed bee populations around the world.
The Varroa Destructor is a terrible little parasitic mite that breeds and lives in European bees. So they hitch a ride on a bee and they feed on that. But more importantly, when they get into a hive, they get into the larva as the brood in the beehive is being developed, and they feed on the fluids and the blood supply of that larva, and weaken it to a point where it causes total destruction in a year or 2 years, depending on the level of infestation.
Australia is the only populated continent without Varroa Destructor. With bee biosecurity a priority, enter the Purple Hive project, an initiative from Bega and Bee Honey to preserve our ag industry from the damage Varroa Destructor has caused overseas. But they couldn't do it alone.
To be honest, coming from an astrophysics background and no agriculture and honestly no learned in university tech background, I had no idea about bees.
But look, you can actually see the quality. You can see the tiny little fingers.
Joel and Vignesh are the brains behind the Purple Hive project.
Yeah, we hadn't done much in rural agri-tech before, but we both were quite passionate about doing something in the Australian landscape, something to do with environment, and taking what we learned in technology from the city and take it out to the country and just explore. And consistently, bees kept coming up. And the need for bees, the need for bees, the need for bees. And so that's when we said, all right, well, we got to start doing something that can combat the Varroa Destructor without harsh chemicals that allow the beekeeper to not manually manage all of the hives and make it easier for them.
Along with software giant Zalient, they developed a solar-powered device to add to existing hives, using 360-degree cameras to observe every bee entering the hive. Powerful AI algorithms catch any unwelcome guests.
The way AI works is it's a bit like a child. And this is to really make it simple. You give a child a picture book with 1,000 pictures of a zebra, and then you show it a horse, and it'll say, oh, that's a weird-looking zebra, but it kind of looks like a zebra. You then give it a picture book of 1,000 zebras and 1,000 horses. And it's kind of going to know that's a zebra because it's got the stripes and that's the shape. And although it kind of looks like a horse, it isn't a horse. That's it. That's the same for computer vision AI. We feed the model and train it with lots and lots of images of bees, lots of images of mites, and it will then just continue learning.
The concept is a simple one, although there is one problem.
Australia doesn't have Varroa, so if we were going to do any testing, what do?
How do we get that picture book?
How do we get that picture book? So one of the first things that we did was we had 3D printed mites, and we actually stuck them with nail polish on a bee, and then actually took pictures of that to just get an initial data set and actually train the AI and actually figure out how well are we going to be able to do this. And that came out pretty well. Yep. And then after that, we had to send it to New Zealand, and then actually, because they have Varroa and we don't, right? So the testing was done there. We got more data sets there, but we've gotten it down to a point where I think we're pretty confident in what we're doing now.
While still in the development stage, the bees also have an input: their attraction to the colour purple.
Yeah, the shape was designed like a bee honeycomb, and the purple as well. Bees are particularly drawn to it. They can see much better into the ultraviolet spectrum, and so this just allowed them to navigate home a lot better.
It could be a game changer in the way we look at bees. And if you think, in a production sense, when we're in mid-season, there'd be 45 or more thousand bees in a beehive, and in our business we manage 1,200 beehives, so you can do the maths on that.
The greatest challenge here is we need to be going incredibly quick to photograph all these bees without any blurriness or distortion as they're flapping their wings to get into the hive. And so it's dozens of frames per second.
So it's essentially someone's looking at every single hive 24/7 for you, and then when something does come up, you get notified immediately.
It's the food security for our nation, and what that means. It means for our grandchildren, future generations, this project is incredibly important, and that's where I'm so grateful. There you go.
Thanks.